So first off, thank you so much to everybody for taking the time out to join us today. We're so excited to have some time to just chat with you guys about our favorite topic, which is remote working and remote year. So today, if we accomplish these objectives, we'll be really happy. So number one is just meeting some of the lovely faces behind RY that you may or may not be meeting while you're on the road. Capture a little bit about some of the basics on the remote working world. We want to talk to you a little bit about what is RY, what's included and not included, and then answer some of your burning questions that we've heard time and time again, like what is a day in the life as somebody on a remote year program, or what's a typical budget that I should think about having when I join remote year. So if you guys have any questions, we'll definitely answer them if we can towards the end of the call. So if you have a chat box open right now, feel free to type any question that you have. Either someone on our team will write during the entire time and answer your question directly, or if we have some time at the end, we'll pull up and answer some of those live as well. All right, so let me kick off first with who are these faces on this panel? So today we're talking about remote work and remote year, and we want to answer this question or help you answer the question for yourself, which is, are you ready to take the leap? So we've chosen some really great people to help share a little bit more about their stories and their journeys, and hopefully inspire you also to take your own leap. So first off, my name is Tu. I'm the CEO of Remote Year. I am a full-time nomad. I bounce around the world all the time. And right now I'm currently in Paris for the month. Jamil?
Hey, everyone. My name is Jamil. I'm the Director of Community Engagement for Remote Year. We'll get into what that means a little bit later. I am also a full-time nomad and currently in Houston, Texas. Corey Lynn.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Corey Lynn. I am a community leader for Remote Year and currently on a 12-month journey. And this month we are in Brazil. Daniel?
Hello, everyone. One of the non-Americans in the room. I'm Daniel, and I'm a part-time nomad. So half the time I'm traveling around on remote year programs, and the other half the time I am in London, which is my home, and that's where I am right now.
Thank you so much for joining again, you guys. Okay, first off, Daniel, why don't you kick off and just give us a little bit of the lay of the land on what is remote working and what does this all mean for folks?
Definitely. I think, the scope of what being a digital nomad is and remote working has certainly changed a lot since the pandemic. And here's just some stats just to reiterate that. So already 16% of companies are fully remote. And there's some interesting facts around working remotely that actually studies now show that you are more likely to earn $19,000 per year on average than your office counterparts. And remotely working is here to stay, and certainly sort of being a digital nomad. It's forecast that 22% of the workforce, the American workforce, will be working remotely by 2025. I mean, that is a staggering amount of people, let alone if you look at the next stat, we're now looking at 2035. So that's just 12 years away. 1 billion digital nomads worldwide, 1 billion digital nomads. That is an enormous amount of people. So we might feel like we're the trendsetters and we're very much in the early days of this digital nomad trend. And it's not just the individuals. We know now that there are enough studies and enough research to show that there are huge benefits to remote working. And that's not just the people who are doing it. So employers and business owners are starting to recognize that as well. Many business leaders are realizing that allowing their staff to work and travel and work remotely leads to more productive staff, leads to better well-being, leads to better productivity, reduces stress. All these factors play into why work and travel is a feature here to stay, thankfully.
Thanks, Daniel. And obviously, you just teed this up perfectly for us, but we've all chosen to join the remote work lifestyle for some reason or another, probably represented by the previous slide. Mine first, quickly. I've been working at Remote Year for the past 6.5 years. Before that, I was actually a part-time or full-time nomad for about 8 years. And so that's been a huge part of my journey, going from working corporate world, always at a desk in an office, to fully remote, and still feeling like I'm my most productive self. So I want to hear about you guys, and what was your journey into remote working? How did you get into it? How's it been? Go ahead, Jamil. Go ahead.
I just love this question. So I've been with Remote Year. Well, actually, I started with Remote Year back in 2019 as a customer. So I went through the whole onboarding journey. I signed up for a 12-month journey, and just through a number of really great experiences, now I am serving as a staff member on the remote year team. But I was originally before I did my program, I was kind of like you, a lot of you on the call. I was working a dead-end job, 9 to 5. The hustle and bustle rat race of downtown LA, and commuting and everything, and it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like this is what I should be doing. I felt kind of caged. And a good friend of mine disappeared from the world, and when he reappeared, he had all this amazing content around the world. So I asked him, how was he able to do this? And he just said 2 words to me: remote year. I looked it up the same day that he recommended to me, scoured the entire website while at work. I was doing this at my job. And that same day I signed up for a 12-month program. So this is basically how I was introduced to remote year. But serendipitously, there was an opening for the at-home team, the team that worked from home. They hadn't hired anyone for a while, and I just sort of got in at the right place at the right time and was able to land an at-home position with the same company, with this incredible traveling community. So that's a little bit about my story.
Cory-Lynn, you want to go next?
Yes. Thanks for sharing, Jamil. So I got into remote working around 2018. I was 1 year into law school, and my soul was just like, we need to travel and see the world. So I decided to pack my bags and started solo trekking. Few months into that, I was like, I need to make money. So that's where the motivation, inspiration to start looking for remote work to provide for this lifestyle that I was wanting to live came from. And then that kind of translated into me landing opportunities to play professional soccer in different countries. And I was at a pivotal point of, do I want to continue my athletic career, or am I ready for the next challenge in life? And boom, remote year fell into my lap. Worldwide community leader. How can you ever not just get googly eyes over a job description like that? So that's kind of my journey working remotely and then landing my job with remote year.
I think certainly to say that professional football's loss is certainly our gain. For me, it was an absolute baptism of fire. I hadn't worked remotely until I started working for remote year. So it was very much in at the deep end for me. And I've never looked back since.
I love all of the stories you guys shared because they're so relatable. I think all of us at one point were sitting in our desks or chairs and just thinking there's got to be a different way that we could be living. There's got to be a more free way to live on our terms. So thanks for sharing those stories. And hopefully you guys who are at home right now or at work listening also feel inspired by those stories. Okay, so first off, what is remote year? Hopefully you guys already know something about remote year if you're here on this webinar, but for those who don't, it is a global platform for professionals to live, work remotely, and explore the world as part of a community. We've been around for 8 years, since 2015, and we take care of all the logistics that you don't want to handle so that you can just focus on having a good time, being productive, making memories, and having deeper connections with one another. All right, so how does RY support this lifestyle? So I'm going to just talk about what you have to do at the very top, and then the choices that you have on how you can join Remote Year. So first off, Remote Year is a membership-based community. So for starting at $199 per year, what you do is you have access to our entire nation. That's what we call our community of 5,000 plus people. You also have travel options. So we'll talk about those in a second, about 1, 4, and 12-month journeys. And then you have access to what we call the Hub, which is a digital community platform. So that's where you can write one another, ask tips, share tips, and connect with people, even the ones who are not on your current program, or if you've stopped traveling, continue to access the rest of the community. We also have some fantastic events which sit in Jamil's wheelhouse, but local meetups around the world, festivals that we do, and also just other in-person and virtual events as well. And then you have access to a wonderful RY team as well, both in person and virtually as well. And then we have 3 different ways you can travel with RY. Basically 1 month, 4 months, 12 months, or you can customize as many months as you want as well. So starting at $549 per month, this is our most flexible option. This is for the type of person who says, I have 1 month and I want to go somewhere, whether that's Brazil or that's Argentina, South Africa, etc. It's really suited for everyone, whether you're new to the lifestyle or you've been doing this forever and just want to pop a month together. We actually have people who string together 4 or 8 months of these together and really just customize what they want to do. And then we've got our 4-month journey next. This is for the type of person who knows that they want to spend more time than a month away and want to connect more deeply in a region. So these are 4 countries all in one region, so much deeper immersion into that region. And then 12-month journeys, these are our pride and joy. These are the flagship and original programs. Anyone who goes on these will tell you with just huge eyes that this was the most life-changing, challenging, but also the most rewarding life experience they've ever had. And if you've ever been on one, and many of us have had the pleasure of popping into quite a few of these different journeys, you'll just see some of those connections that were formed on those programs are truly life-changing and lifelong. So those are 3 ways. And then let's ask a quick question actually in the poll here. So based on what you guys know so far, which program length are you most interested in? So if you could just pop that in the next 5 seconds, that'll help us tailor a little bit of what we talk for the rest of the call.
Got some
All
4-monthers, some more. Okay, we got a 12-monther. Let's go 12-monthers. Just dive on in. Just do it. Just dive in. You'll never regret it.
Awesome. Okay, Daniel, do you want to cover what is most included? Did I just lose Daniel? All right, so let me do this quickly then. So at a very high level, what is included in Remote Year? So you guys can kind of see here, there's several options for 1-month programs, and then there's the 4 and 12-month journey. So for the first 2 on 1-month programs, you have an option between without accommodation or vetted RY accommodations. So even in the vetted RY accommodations, you have the option between a shared apartment, still private bedroom, but in a shared apartment, or a private apartment completely to yourself. And then you've got co-working space, 5 experiences that are included in every single month, no matter what program you choose. And then the only other differentiating factor is people who go on our 1-month programs are not traveling from place to place with us. So the flights that connect between the cities are not included. And then airport transfers also are not for people who opt into the program only option. So also, I already talked about this earlier, but you have the Nation Digital Hub, and then something which we have called International SOS is an incredible resource that gives medical and safety tips and help no matter what country you're in. And that's something that we provide from RY if you're a part of our programs. And then in terms of team support, we've got local teams that are on the ground in every single program. The only difference is on 4-month and 12-month journeys is we include a traveling community leader, someone like a Corey Lynn, to just make sure that they're keeping the community healthy, prospering, and also connected during that whole journey as well. And then across all of these, you always have access to all of our technical platforms. So like the Digital Hub, our marketplace, which is almost like an experience and amenity marketplace, and then all of our incredible resources, whether that's onboarding, city guides, et cetera, which we'll talk a little bit more about. Sorry, Daniel, I see you, but I just popped in. You can take it from here.
Good. I dropped out. So just goes to show, no matter where you are in the world, home Wi-Fi is never always 100% guaranteed. So I had a panic there. Anyway, off my hands and knees, rotor reset. Just to talk about the marketplace, we refer to it quite a lot. And whether you're speaking to somebody with the sales team or with somebody in the Nation support team, just to explain what it is, it's an internal website Every destination we have has its page, and it's your one-stop shop for everything that you might want from us when you're in that city. So everything from like additional transfers from the airport, additional experiences, weekend adventures, SIM cards, those kind of things. So you'll get access to this after you sign up. It's a really good way for you to be able to plan out your month, both from a time perspective and also from a budgeting perspective. We're going to talk a bit more about budgets later on, but just it gives you an idea of like roughly how much the experiences, day trips and weekend adventures cost across the place. They vary massively from place to place and depending on what you're doing, but some good indicative prices. Some of the stuff that's not included, like we don't have any hidden costs. It's not like you'll join up and then we're like, oh, but you need to pay for this and you need to pay for this. That's not how it is. We're upfront about the things that we don't include. Some of the most obvious things, we don't include flights to get you to the start of your program, the end of your program, your food and your drink, any insurance, visas, SIM cards. None of these things are included, but we can certainly help you with some of the budgeting for those things as we go along.
All right, I'm going to get into my number one favorite question that I get asked all the time. So you guys have probably been scouring the website like Jamil probably was back in the day and had a lot of questions on, okay, I get it, but what's included, what's not included? Hopefully we captured that. Now, the biggest question we get is, so what is the biggest value of ROI? So what are some of the intangible values that may not be jumping out when you're perusing the website or listening to us talk? So the three that I've heard a lot about, which I'd love for you guys to talk about, is just the team support, what a soft landing means, and then the community. So maybe team support, it looks like Daniel wants to capture that one.
Yeah, I do. It's the one that I get most excited about, so I wanted to jump in there. For me, it's the thing that I am the most proud about working at Remote Year for is the team. So it's not just like the excellent Corey Lynn who's on this call. There is a whole there's huge number of people who are here to support you from day dot. So even before you join a program, we've got a team who can help you make sure that this is the right kind of lifestyle for you, can talk to you about the different destinations we have, seasonality, you know, what you're looking for and help guide you. Then there's a team who will help you with all of the onboarding, so provide some different resources for you, point you in the right direction if they can't provide the answer for you. We do a series of webinars, there's a series of emails to make sure that you're fully prepped, to make sure you've thought everything before you go away. Just because it's not just about like when you're away, making sure that we remove some of that hassle and free up some headspace. We do that in the onboarding stage as well. So for me, that's what I'm really proud about. It's just like the team who are involved at every step, because you should be supported at every point.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I know hopefully some of the others will chime in on this one as well. But the team support is incredible, not just from a global level, but all of us can imagine, right? You go somewhere and there's such a difference between when you show up there not knowing anyone versus when you show up knowing that there's someone there to welcome you, make sure that they've vetted kind of everything through your eyes. They've done this before. They know exactly kind of what they would share with the family or the cousins coming, not just people who are trying to travel there as like a tourism or a vacation perspective. So the next thing that kind of segs into soft landing. So Remote Year is always viewed as kind of a soft landing for people who want to come somewhere and immediately be able to plug into the city. And Corey Lynn, you're on the ground right now. Can you talk a little bit about this value of, you know, how Remote Year provides that soft landing?
Yes, I would love to. And it's always my favorite first week of the month when everyone arrives and you have these bright, shiny faces that have all of these questions. And the coolest thing that the city team and myself get to support the community in is throughout your entire first week of the program, each day we're dedicating to a city orientation. So we're plugging you into your neighborhood, we're plugging you into how your month is going to look, all of the essential information that you need to set you up for success, while also making sure that you're taken care of in the workspace for all of your priorities and work. The next day, you're aimlessly like, what do? I can't speak the language here. I'm curious what to do around town. Great. We got you. We're going on a city walking tour, and we're also going to do a language and culture class. And all of these amazing things are included with your monthly price. And it's really cool to see the amount of just, I don't know, the experience being elevated rather than you just showing up to a city you've never been for and kind of fending for yourself. It's like you have staff on the ground with you while also a community learning alongside you. and plugging you in with these different types of tools.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And then community, all of us could talk about community for a whole extra hour. But why don't I actually just give you guys a quick few stats, and then would love to hear from, someone on this call as well. So first off, the community, everyone always asks us, who am I going to meet? Who's on there? Who's going to be there? So the first one is 5,000 plus program participants have gone through Remote Year already. Quite a few of them actually continue to travel with us. So you'll often see old and new faces mixed on every single program. And then 91% are between the ages of 25 and 55. We have 64 nationalities represented and growing. We've got 40% people of color. We have people who are anywhere between 21 years old all the way to 77 years old in our community today, all just joined by this idea of curiosity and a sense of adventure. And then we've got 72% who are full-time employees. Very proud of 15% LGBTQ plus as well. And then we've got a strong women demographic as well at 67%. But those are the numbers. Jermil, maybe you were on a program with a 12-month program and have traveled quite a bit with Remote Year in between as well. What's been community to you, and what's the value behind that?
Yes, community is such a huge thing for me, just because I'm always looking for my people whenever and wherever I go. And it's always a daunting task to try to find new people in new places. But what Remote Year does so effortlessly is serve the community of like-minded individuals to our community members in such a way, and in very intentional, curated ways, that it's so easy to know that these people who I'm on this journey with are my people. Now, everyone is different, right? Everyone comes from different backgrounds, but that's learning about each other. And the way Remote Year curates our events, like our local meetups, our digital series, like our webinars, our festivals, there's always that extra component that we add in there to sort of help break the ice for our community. So whether you are the 77-year-old from the South, there is someone who you can connect with before your program, during your program, and even after your program. And I think that's one of the really great attributes about Remote Year, is that we have this full community life cycle of before you're a member with us, while you're traveling with us, and then even after. And that's the after portion is what I'm really passionate about, and is where myself and my team step up. Is we take pride in creating more opportunities for our community to connect, engage, get to know each other, community build, network, even when they're not traveling on a program. So one of the ways that we do that is through our digital hub. So let me give you an example. I am connected to each and every one of these 5,000 plus members just at the click of a button. I could be in Tirana, Albania one random day and go into our social platform and say, hey, I'm in Albania, who's here? Want to grab a coffee? And guaranteed there will be at least 2 or 3 people who will message me back and say, yes, I'm in town. Let's get together. I'd love to show you around. Or even if no one is in town, there's always someone who's like, I was just there 2 weeks ago. Check out this coffee spot. I was just there. You can go to this neighborhood. So the community is not, Daniel mentioned this earlier with the team support, that we have all these resources with the on the ground teams. But I'd also like to extend that to our community as well. Our community really steps up and helps each other really navigate this globe, and helps sort of, make it a little bit smaller for each and every one of us. So that's why I love our community, because I can go anywhere and everywhere and know that someone is there to help me and support me.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Daniel, Corey-Lynn, do you guys have anything you want to add there?
Jordan, I can see
You want to go either or?
I was just going to say, there's 2 things I was going to say. Is that one, I always get asked by sort of friends and family when I tell them what I do. They're like, oh, who's the typical person on a program? And I asked that question when I first started working at Remote Year, and like two people I was talking to at the time, they're like, there is no typical person. And I was like, yeah, there must be. And then I've realized there isn't. And I'm still surprised just at the diversity amongst like the professions and the backgrounds of everybody on Remote Year. But another thing is I was talking about, we do some onboarding webinars. One of the things is we know that most people, no matter their age or their experience, are always quite concerned about whether they're going to fit in within the community. And I can assure you that's a shared concern amongst most people, regardless of how confident we present. And so we're aware of that. And then we do plenty of stuff within the onboarding just to reassure you about how we build community and like make sure that everybody sort of arrives feeling a little bit more secure, to reassure there is a place for everybody. Corey-Lynn, did you want to add something?
I was going to piggyback exactly off of what you were saying and just give a little bit of context for people on this call with a direct group that we have on the ground right now here in Brazil. Right now we have 20 people here, ages 25 to 53, 20% people of color, 10% Middle Eastern, 50% Caucasian, 15% Latino Hispanic, and 5% Asian. And like Daniel said, I get a lot of questions as well, you know, while I work in this type of industry, am I going to be able to sustain this? Am I going to be able to participate? And here's a list of the industries that we have currently right now. Technology, professional and business services, food and beverage, government and military, construction, education, architecture, nonprofits, marketing, finance, and coaching. So this is doable, this is plausible. And, you know, if it's one thing that we really want to hit home with this is that our community is for everyone.
I completely agree. Like I said, we could talk about this all day long, but I think the proof is in the pudding. And, you know, one of the things that I'm proudest of is when a program ends and I see people starting businesses together, you know, networking professionally and, you know, potentially investing in each other's businesses or just even doing hackathons. We've had relationships come out of
Finding
here.
love, marriage,
Right.
all of those.
We have
Yep.
Marriages.
There's at least like 10 weddings every month from like 5 years ago. So it's definitely an incredible community that just keeps growing and just keeps pouring into each other. All right, so let's move into burning questions. So we're going to address a few here, but I see the chat box has been lighting up with a lot of questions. So I think we're doing good on time. So if we get to the end, we'll address some of those questions as well. So first off, one of the questions we get is, what does flexibility mean on Remote Year? And obviously, hopefully you guys saw in your emails in the last couple of weeks and in the social media realm for Remote Year that we've had a lot of new updates to Remote Year and giving you more choice and more flexibility. So first off, 1 month programs, in the past, you were only able to kind of purchase one option. Now we actually give you the option to have the 1 month program to Medellin, for instance, as an example here in your checkout cart. And then you're able to tack on the exact accommodation type that you'd want. So choice number one is you choose and find your own accommodation. Number two is an RY vetted shared apartment. So this is a private bedroom in a shared apartment that might have 1, 2, or 3 people in there with you. And then an RY vetted private apartment, which is obviously just you. So it's pretty easy. Once you get to Remote Year, you find what program you want on our site, and then you click through to the checkout. You'll see the cart summary here, just update based on what type of accommodation preference you're adding on to your 1 month program. So super easy. One question we get is, can I add on accommodation later? Yes, you can. If you want to just book the 1 month program for now, they'll include all the community stuff you heard about. So our community, the access to the community and co-working space, the events and experiences that are included in that month, as well as the support team, like the leader, the community leader, like Corey-Lynn, and our local city teams as well. So if we do have room for accommodation, you will be able to book it later, but guaranteed spot is book it up front. All right, typical budget. We get asked this question a lot too. Maybe Jamil, I know you went through this exercise yourself when you were figuring out how to budget for your experience. You want to walk us through some of these?
Yes, I did. One thing I just want to point out that this does look a bit different than when I joined my program back in 2019, because we just launched our new membership platform, which makes things a lot more flexible and a lot more affordable than even when I was traveling. But just to put things into perspective here, I know this number looks really, kind of daunting. But when I was living in LA downtown, I had a 1 bedroom with rent, transportation, food, extracurricular activities, etc. I was paying anywhere between $3,500 and $3,800 a month just for all of my experiences, and I was still living in traffic and going through this life that I was just kind of bored with. When I joined my remote year program for the 12 months that I traveled with, I ended up saving about $1,100 a month just by leaving the United States, because as you can see here, the program alone is $549. That gives you access to the entire platform, right? That's no accommodations, that you find your own accommodations, $549. You have access to the community, all of the experiences, etc. Then you add on the accommodations, right? Now you're at around 1,900, maybe 2K, and then all of your additional living expenses, food, which can fluctuate depending on your diet, transportation. Basically, your budget matches your lifestyle. So if you live a caviar and filet mignon lifestyle, this number will go up. However, if you're more like me and you like to cook at home, then this will kind of be on the lower end. So it's really what you make it. So it completely depends on your level of comfort, your daily routines and habits, and any other things that you may need, like like we said, like your flights to the first destination and then back to your final destination, SIM cards, visas, and anything else that you feel would make you feel at home while you're away. So just keep those things in mind. It's not the same number for everyone. It fluctuates all the time for everyone.
Absolutely. That's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jamil. Great. And then I know another question we get is, what is a typical day like on RY? So Corey Lynn, maybe you can address this one.
Yes. Just to preface, everybody's day can and may look different depending on work schedules and commitments. So here is a typical fun, though, day with remote year. We're waking up before our calls, 7 to 9 a.m., maybe going on a hike, maybe going surfing, taking a little cable car, visiting a temple. Then we're going to get to work, head over to the workspace, take some calls, take care of things, 9 to 12 p.m. Lunch break hits, and you're either wanting to get lunch with your fellow community members. You send them a message, hey, does anybody want to go get lunch? Boom, you're off. Or you're checking out a local cooking class and learning a unique recipe from a local person, and you're learning the ins and outs of that unique cooking class. Okay, after that, we're heading back to take care of some things at work from 2 to 6 p.m. 6 p.m. rolls around and you want to go hit a sunset and maybe catch dinner solo or with your community. And then on your calendar, you see a community event in the evening, optional, to go and dance or chill at a local cafe. So again, there are always going to be plenty of opportunities between marketplace experiences that you can purchase and or community events that your community leader cultivates for you for the month. There is always going to be plenty to do, but again, it is at your disposal and it is always optional. So you make what your month to look like.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of people who ask questions usually about time zones. So we know that not everybody is going to be working on the same time zone. So that's why this is just an example. And usually during the entire month, we try to plan, for instance, weekend adventures so that it's around your work week and you get to participate in those. There's also a lot of things happening every single week at different times of the day. So that if you can't make one, you can make something, a different time as well. But the good news is there's usually a lot of people in the group who all work different time zones. And so there's these little sub communities that happen where people might all do kind of things together, eat together, work together, et cetera, walk home to and from the workspace together. So that's really great as well. And everything is optional. Okay, so I'm going to do burning questions soon, but first I want to ask everyone here, what is the one advice that you would give everyone at home who's sitting here watching this right now thinking, should I do this? Should I not? I don't know.
I'll go first. For me, it's not a question whether you should, it's an absolute should. My piece of advice for you is that when you book your return flight, make sure it's a flexible flight or just don't book one at all, because that is one of the biggest regrets. I see most people who join a program, particularly people who join a 1 month, I think I'll go test it out and then I'll come back home. And I can assure you the vast majority of people regret that choice about 1 week in, when they've got their new travel buddies and they're talking about going on to different plans, different cities, different countries, different adventures. And they're like, oh, I've got this flight, I don't really want to take it. I want to stay out here. So yeah, and generally that is a good piece of advice, is if you're booking a 1 month program, make sure that return ticket is flexible.
Great advice. And so real. I see people traveling for years with us and still haven't gotten home. All right, Corey Lynn.
I would say mine's between time and also the gold platter. So time, it seems cliche, but it's also not. And it's most people, when they get to the ends of their life, the number one thing that they request more of is time. And why wait? If you're here on this call and you're that curious to the point where you're wanting to learn more, I think it's about time you take a little step in the right direction of just seeing what else is out there for you in life. The opposite also is the gold platter. I've done a lot, and maybe some other people on this call have done traveling solo. And there's a lot of pain points and uncomfortabilities that come with that. Had I known about remote years ago, man, oh man, like I would have already joined a trip before I started working here. It's incredible to bear those travel experiences with a community, and also to be able to show up to a new country and be completely set up for success. You just have to show up with your laptop, your clothes, and a smile. So yeah, why wait?
Love that. Thank you, Jamil.
Yeah, just to piggyback a little bit off of Corey Lynn, my biggest advice is just to stay curious. If this is something that that is, kind of burning in your stomach a little bit, speak it into existence. I know that sounds very cliche as well, but the universe will conspire to move around and make things happen for you. But, there's also a respect factor too, right? Respecting what privileges, because this is honestly, it is a privilege to be able to travel around and experience different cultures and languages and people and customs, and just respecting each other on a global scale. That's some advice that I would give myself back in 2019, is just have a little bit more empathy and respect. And it's something as easy as, like, I had snails in Vietnam, and when I ate it, I turned my nose up. It was like, because that's not at all my palate, but the chef took offense to that because that's, their custom. So just being mindful and doing research, and just, making sure that you are, being self-aware before you step out there.
So funny. I was literally just talking to someone last night about snails in Vietnam and how I know a baking place that you need to go to have some really good snails. So I'm gonna take you there next time I'm there. All right. So hopefully you guys found this to be of value, and we answered a lot of questions. I'm going to answer some of your chat questions live in a second. But first off, if we answer the questions and you feel that burning desire to join Remote Year right now, which I hope you all do, please feel free to visit us at remoteyear.com. It's really easy to find a program based on whatever month you want to travel, what type of program you want to travel on, and also what destination you want to go. So you can filter among a lot of different options there. If you still have some more questions, that's okay. Please feel free to email us at hello@remoteyear.com. We have a great team that can answer any of your questions that you guys have, and make sure that you guys get all of your questions answered. So I'm going to go into just the chat box real quick and just see some of these questions you guys have for a couple more minutes for those who can stay on for a few extra minutes. So the first question is, are there set experiences or itineraries that are included in the 1 month programs? And yes, just at a very high level, there's usually about 3 or 4 included things per week. So some of those could be, for instance, the welcome experience, which could be like a drumming circle in Cape Town, the city orientation and welcome that Corey Lynn talked about a second ago, the language and culture crash course, a walking tour, farewell experience, a going local experience where the local team finds some sort of really cool experience or hidden gem that they curate through their eyes. And then additional social or community experiences that might be curated that whole month by your community leader, or also ideas that the group might come up with themselves. Like if they love playing soccer, they might put that on the schedule every Thursday, for instance. So it's very flexible. Another question people had was, is the accommodation centrally located so I can walk to restaurants and shops? Absolutely. That's actually one of the core things that Remote Year looks for, is placing you in a neighborhood where usually things are accessible, like restaurants nearby, cafes, shops, bars, etc. We also try to place ourselves where it's close enough walking distance that you can walk back and forth from the co-working space, or also, hitch a ride back if you want on Uber, etc. Other questions, general logistics questions. So some people need to apply for a visa for some of the countries. Can Remote Year provide some reservation document that shows what our accommodations are ahead of time so you can get those visas? Yes, absolutely. Of course, you can just reach out to us. When you're on a Remote Year journey, all you have to do is email nation@remoteyear.com, and we'll usually be able to square you away on anything that you need there. And then also, how do we plan ahead on Remote Year in terms of flights or kind of the next 2 or 3 destinations? That's a great question. If you're on a program journey, which is a 4 or 12-month journey, that's really taken care of for you. So we have all of your accommodations, workspace, experiences team, and then we also take care of your connecting flights in between each city. So you don't need to book those yourself on the journeys. If you're on a 1-month program, usually, if you're, like what Daniel said, you come on and week 1, you already know that you want to continue on with Remote Year. We can give some advice, but usually, you book your flight to the next place. We usually tell people book a refundable ticket ahead of time. That way you have ultimate flexibility to kind of change plans or change flights if you need as well. There was one question here on just what are events and what's the cadence? I think there's 2 parts there, right? One is the experiences and events that are already included in your program. There's also 10 or 15 other add-on experiences that are on our marketplace that you also can add on. So for instance, $25 walking tour somewhere, or a $1,200 safari in Cape Town, or a 1-day ride around town in a bus in Kenya, for instance. So those are all every single month. On top of that, Jamil talked a lot about events that are happening across our nation community every single month as well. So we've got a digital series every month that is a speaker talking about a topic of interest. There's also local meetups, there's cultural events. We've got a Nation Fest where everybody in the nation can reunite at these 3 or 4-day festivals as well. And then we've got global adventures, which are 1-week adventures that you can book across the entire nation. That's in cool places like 1 week of Oaxaca Day of the Dead, for instance. So sorry, I'm looking through some more questions. So I think we've answered the majority of these questions, but there's a couple other questions let me do here. If we need to pick our own accommodations, will we know where the workspace and other attendees are located so we can choose something nearby? Yes, absolutely. So once you book your program and you select that option of finding your own accommodation, once you go through our onboarding journey and you get access to our digital hub, there you'll find information on which neighborhood we're in and where you can kind of base yourself out and look around as well. And then there was one last question, or I'll do 2 last questions. If we need help with return flights or transport to the airport, will that be provided? Yes, we absolutely usually have airport transfers that are bookable on our marketplace as well. So you can rest assured that if you're coming in, we can usually book that for you as well. That includes SIM cards or any other amenities that you might want to book that we also have on our marketplace as well. And then this last question, I swear this comes up in every single webinar we have. Everyone's always trying to check for Corey Lynn's job. So everyone's asking, is Remote Year currently hiring? If we do have roles, you can usually check those out on remoteyear.com and then check our careers section where you'll see whatever roles we have open there. But absolutely, I'm sure as Corey Lynn says, it's a very fulfilling job. So keep your eyes peeled out for those.